A Missouri man is pushing for change after serving 30 years for a crime he did not commit and receiving no compensation after being exonerated. Lamar Johnson was serving a life sentence for a murder when his conviction was finally overturned.
It is hereby ordered that the motion of the Circuit Attorney of the 22nd Judicial Circuit filed herein for the benefit of Lamar Johnson is granted.
That conviction was vacated after reliable evidence was found proving Johnson's innocence, which he had maintained since the start. But under current law, Johnson isn't eligible for compensation for all those years lost because he wasn't exonerated by DNA evidence. ABC's Brad Milkey, host of the Start Here podcast, spoke with Johnson, and he joins me live now to explain. Hi, Brad. So why does it matter whether Johnson was exonerated by DNA or by any other evidence?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the criminal justice system, Diane, you got all these systems that have always sort of made sense to the lawmakers that impose them, right? Like inmates, we know what to do with inmates. We offer them parole for good behavior. When you have a parolee, you offer them like a work release program to get them back on their feet. But then in the 90s, all of a sudden, you had a ton of inmates being exonerated by DNA evidence. And so it presented this conundrum to so many lawmakers. Like, what do you do when someone isn't getting out gradually, but is just all of a sudden found innocent beyond a shadow of a doubt? So they scrambled to create these rules in which people could get compensated. After all, like, so much of your life has been ripped away for something that you didn't do. Lamar Johnson, 28 years behind bars for something that he definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, did not do. So what do? You compensate them. In Missouri, they decided the law should be $100 a day. It's about $30-something thousand a year that you were behind bars. However, there's a catch. That says if DNA evidence wasn't the thing to convict you, you don't get that money. And so now he is, along with several other former inmates, trying to convince people that you need this, considering that there are so many more people getting exonerated that have nothing to do with DNA evidence.
Well, and to that point, Brad, data from the University of Michigan shows non-DNA exonerations have more than doubled over the past 10 years, while DNA-based exonerations have stayed steady during that time. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, if DNA was kind of the revelation of the 1990s, Diane, the revelation of the last decade has been that there are so many more people wrongfully locked up than you might have even known about. We know more we have more criminal science now talking about eyewitnesses and the unreliability of eyewitnesses. We know more about problem cops, this idea that if a cop, fabricated evidence against a defendant, that might not have been the only defendant that there was. And so what you've had is several more states. Illinois is a great example, going through their records and doing these mass exonerations. In fact, last year, Illinois exonerated, all in one batch, 603 convicts. I mean, that's a huge difference. And that completely actually dwarfs the amount of DNA exonerations we've had in recent years. And so that is why in several states, they're kind of re-examining these laws right now.
So what's the status of this battle for Lamar Johnson, and how is he doing now that he's a free man?
I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag, Diane, because you think about what his life has been like over the last 28 years. Now he's out. Just a couple weeks ago, he got out. And you could even see in that video that you played earlier, Diane, like, everyone else is standing up and applauding. He's sitting there almost unsure of what to do next. It just hit him like a ton of bricks. And so he told me he doesn't have a job right now. He doesn't even have a ton of skills that he's honed over the last 28 years that would make him, a great applicant for a ton of jobs. He showed up to the Senate hearing with the clothes on his back that had been donated to him from his law firm. I mean, on the other hand, though, he said something beautiful to me. He said that he's really trying to just not take anything in life for granted. In fact, I think we have a clip of him here.
I want to experience some of the things that a lot of people may find annoying or take for granted. Holding a crying baby or standing in line that's moving too slow. I'm going to enjoy every second of it for as long as I can.
Yeah. And the idea of just waiting in a line that's moving too slow being like a beautiful thing, that tells you sort of where he's at. In fact, I talked to him, Diane. He was sitting in the parking lot when I called him of the DMV because he was getting his driver's license again. And I asked him, how are you driving? He said, I'm good on the parallel parking. I'm good on the speed. What I keep doing is I keep hitting the brakes too hard, which I sat back and it made me think like everything in life for him is moving so quickly right now.
Except probably those lines at the DMV. So he may have gotten that request he asked for, Brad. But Brad, one last thing before you go. On this morning's episode, you talked with the National Park Service about the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C., and why they're blooming early. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I found this fascinating. I didn't know this was a thing because I don't live in DC, but our DC producers were like, Brad, it's crazy here. Like, there's snow outside and the cherry blossoms are going. Can we look into that? Because people in DC really take their cherry blossoms seriously. So we called the National Park Service. They said this is a thing. Like, in fact, they just announced peak bloom season yesterday. It's going to be in just a few weeks. It's usually in April. It's going to be in like mid to late March. And that has actually been happening more and more recently, that the peak bloom in DC is happening earlier and earlier because temperatures are warming. Obviously, there's concerns about climate change here. In the meantime, this Parks Department official says he has allergies. This is actually taking a little bit easier on him, so he's fine with it this year.
But a great photo op for the gram. Brad Mielke, we appreciate it as always. Thank you. And you can hear that story and more on ABC Start here weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.